The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Sicilian Corner, winner of the Italian Heritage Media Award, with your hosts, Tom Zappola and Mike Lamazzo.
Tom. Oh, Tom.
Sorry, Mikey. I was.
You're on vacation. I get it.
I was staring at the beautiful, lush hedges, flowers, coconuts.
A
lot of lizards.
Put the lime
lot
in
of
the
lizards.
coconut. You shake it
lot of
very
lizards.
well. You put the lime in the coconut.
How you doing, Mikey boy?
Things are good. Well,
Can't
listen,
complain.
we got a
Welcome.
beautiful day.
Yeah.
We don't have anything growing yet, but you know something? That's what spring is all about, anticipation.
Well, I kind of agree with you on that one, Mikey boy. We have a good show today. We have Dan Debrick here for all of you folks that need some financial advice. Dan pretty much has it all, Mikey, right?
It's more than just financial advice. The Debrick Law Offices, Tom, just specialize in helping you whether you need to have a trust or a will. That's all they do. They don't go to court. They don't represent you like David, you know, when he gets in trouble without having a directional on. He doesn't do any of that. But if you have issues and you have children, how do you save your assets? How can you put your assets, make sure it filters down to them? What happens if your spouse gets remarried? What happens to the money you get? You know, so there's a million questions. That's why I'm going to say to our Sicilian Corner listeners, folks, get a pencil, a pen, have a piece of paper. I think you're going to find the two segments that Dan is going to do very, very, very interesting. I am a member of his firm as far as being a customer. I have been for quite a few years, and probably about 14 of my friends have also set up trusts or wills. So this is something that's vital. We're here for a short period of time. The train comes into the station, T. You don't know if you're going to get on it.
Oh God, I don't want to
off.
hear this. You and I just had a conversation about.
What do you think
this
I'm bringing
morning.
it up for? Just to bust your chops.
I mean, listen, Mikey. How old are you? You 78?
Whatever.
70? All right, Mike. You've got at least a year, another good year left. At least another good
Chrissy,
year.
you picking that up? Another year.
Yeah.
I've got another year left.
Yeah.
Mikey, let me tell you something. You're going to have a very healthy 95 years.
I don't want to live to be 95. That's what
Well.
you don't understand.
Well, whatever. Hey, listen, programming note, so everybody can pay close attention to this. Beginning on April 1st, and this really has nothing
Wait a minute. I want
to
to
do-
write this down so I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, you think? Beginning on April 1st,
Yeah.
you're going to be watching a taped version of the Sicilian Corner. We're going to be taping the show a couple of days before. Many reasons, but we think the most important reason is so that when the show airs, Mikey and I can converse with the people watching the show on Fridays via the comments on our Facebook page. We can have conversations. We can answer questions. We've talked about it with our production staff, and I think we're all in the same boat. Typically we don't take many phone calls live, one or two a show, but this way we can pretty much communicate with everybody that's making comments. Like right now, we've got all kinds of people: Andy Parisi, Joanne, Diana Burke. We can converse with all of you guys going forward. So that's going to start on April 1st, Mikey.
That's April's Fool's Day, but we got to make sure that everybody understands what's happening.
Correct. So I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be good for us. Mikey will be manning the computer. I'll be manning a computer. David will be around. So we can answer questions, have a few laughs, and you guys will enjoy the show. And we're only going to be taping the show 2 or 3 days prior to that Friday. So I think that's okay. Mikey, listen, first of all, congratulations on your new car. You bought a beautiful new car, Genesis, which is a great car. I love those genitals. They're very, very nice. and wish you the best with it.
Thank you.
Mike, you paid some heavy swordies for that.
I think I took out 4 different cars, and I got to be honest with you. This one here was hands down by far the best one to drive.
Really?
Everything, yeah. And I'll be honest with you. I leased it only because I'm not planning on keeping a car, like I did the Caddy. Those
Sure.
days are gone. So this way here, I bring it back to the dealer in 3 years, get another car.
How many miles, Mikey, you get a year on that thing?
12,000.
Oh, you won't even put 12. Oh, actually, you will. You'll put a lot of miles in that.
Yeah, I
sucker.
will. I'll be over. I know I will. But that's okay. That's the way it
no,
goes.
you're better off.
But
You're
you know
better off.
something? I know we're doing a show on finances today. You and I both know, and David's going through this process right now. He's getting a all-electric vehicle. A car is the worst investment you could possibly make. But in my case, I don't have any children. Lucille passed. You know something, T? I'm being nice to Mikey. And this is
Mike.
listen,
I'm your biggest advocate about all that stuff.
And
We've
this
talked
is a
about
card
it.
that appeals
And
to me.
I mean, you've got boatloads of money. You're a very, very wealthy man.
You know
I
something?
Think I'm speaking. I think you.
I'm
could
not
spread
in
the-
Florida. You are. I can't
you could
afford to
spread
go to
the wealth.
Methuen.
I think you could spread the wealth a little more between David, myself, and Chrissy. But I'm just throwing that off to the side. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know if they want to chime in, either one of those two. But I would think that both Chrissy and David would think it's a good idea, right, guys?
Absolutely.
Why not?
Chrissy
the
just got
wealth.
back from New
Sharing
York
is
City.
caring.
I know.
Right?
She went to see
mean-
Hamilton.
I did.
What did you think of the play?
Incredible. It's one of the best things I've ever seen. I like cried the whole time. It was so moving and
It
so
is
beautiful.
emotional, isn't it?
It is. It's
You know,
absolutely beautiful.
Chrissy, I got a question about that because I recently read the book Hamilton. I mean, the real book.
Yeah.
And how does he come across overall in the play? Does he come across as a good American, a great American, a narcissistic guy? How does he come across?
I think he comes across as your average human, as in flawed.
That's what I
So
thought.
he's likable in some sections. You despise him in
You know
some
something?
areas. They
You're
paint
right.
it as
You're
very
right.
true. He's like your average person. He has good days. and bad
That's
days
interesting
and-
because I haven't seen it. In real life, he was a hound. He was like an amazing hound.
I don't.
He had women all over the
She
place.
doesn't know what a hound means.
I
I'm
wasn't sure.
sorry.
I'm like, wait, he did hunting a lot.
He's a dog.
Yeah, he had,
in Australia,
No,
they
many-
don't use that terminology.
So in one of
He had-
their
Yeah.
in one of the
we-
songs, they do mention it a little bit. They touch on it. They said that because apparently Martha Washington named her feral tomcat after him, and he's like,
Oh,
That's
really?
Yeah, and in the song, and he goes, "That's true."
And one other question: in the play, was his hate of Thomas Jefferson? Did that come out? The animosity between the two of them?
Yes,
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious.
in some
I was just
really
curious.
cool rap battles, just for the record, like really cool.
Yeah, it's
really?
a good
Yeah,
play.
it's so good.
Yeah,
It's so good.
I'd like to see it when we get back.
Yeah, it's very good.
Listen, we got a few minutes, and then we're going to take an early break so we can bring Dan in. But Mikey,
I just
want
wanna
to get your thoughts
I
on this Ukraine situation. What are your thoughts, Mikey?
Tommy, civilians that are getting hurt and killed, I don't understand it. To even take a shot to go after that nuclear power plant, that's the biggest nuclear power plant in all of Europe. If they would have done something to make that thing implode, I mean, you know how many people would have been affected? It doesn't make sense. And the other thing that's really bad about all of this is Putin is taking this on, but the people in Russia, and there are good people in Russia, are really taking it in the neck because goods coming into the country is going to be very, very, very limited.
Can't even cash a check.
You can't get cash. I was just going to say that. There's
Yeah.
a run on the banks. So to what end does this serve outside of just annexing? But for what? For what? I don't get it. And he's got the whole world now against him except for the Chinese.
I tell you, Mikey, I think this is going to end for Mr. Putin. I think this is not going to end well for him. I honestly do. I think that
I agree.
I think that he's going to meet his maker internally from somebody in Russia. I really do. But hey, what do I know?
Yeah, it's really a shame. Hey, Tom, you know, one of our newest sponsors on the Sicilian Corner radio show is the Butcher Boy. And,
well, it's the Sicilian Corner videocast podcast live from the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, you moron.
You got it. Yeah, you got it.
Thank you.
Anyway,
Thank you very much.
you know, we've got some terrific sponsors that have been with us for many years. 4 of them have been with us for the 21 years plus. But I just wanted to mention to people that live in the Merrimack Valley, if you haven't been to the Butcher Boy, you really should go. You know, back in 1955, they opened the Butcher Boy directly across the street from where we're at right now in this building. And the whole family worked there. It was everybody on board. They worked a lot of hours to build up their company and their reputation. I worked there. I started there in 1958 as a bagger, a cleanup kid, washed the bathrooms, whatever. And it was amazing the amount of business they would do, but because it was all family run. And today, not much has changed. The Maroon and the Yamin family are still running the Butcher Boy in North Andover. I want you to go by, say hello, tell them you listen to us on the Sicilian Corner. We're going to talk about some of the items and specialty items that they have for Easter, and we'll get into that in the later on. But once again, Butcher Boy's Market. It's www.butcherboymarket.com, and it's great recipes. You're going to love it. They're good people, hard workers. And that's all I have to say about the Butcher Boy this time.
Well, Mikey, you know, you could spring for a couple of T-bones for me as a gift when I get home. I think
and what exactly, now that you brought this up, okay? Mm-hmm. David, I just want you to listen to what I have to say. And this is the honest to God's truth.
All right, I'm here.
All right. My 50th anniversary. My family is having a function for us.
Okay.
They send an invitation to my co-partner.
Nice.
Never replied that he wasn't going. Never brought me a gift.
Oh, that is a lie.
Nothing. 50 years. 50 years
David,
being married. And this is the honest to God's truth.
Oh,
so you know something? When it comes to you, I've got a big X.
David, there's a backstory.
No, there isn't a backstory.
All right, well,
you're full of coke.
Give him an opportunity.
Mike fails to tell you that when he and Lucille were at the casino, he had a beautiful bottle of champagne waiting for him and his lovely wife, along with a beautiful assortment of Lindt chocolates. But Mike,
that was after the fact. That was after the fact. So you know something? Does the phrase "bite me" mean anything to you at all?
God, I love this man. All right, listen, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Dan Debracare from the Debracare Law Offices is going to be with us.
And Dan's sitting in the audience watching us.
All right, now listen, if you have questions, type them in. I mean, if you're watching, type them in, and we'll ask Dan the question. Wills, trust, revocable, irrevocable, irreplaceable.
You don't even know what irrevocable means.
Whatever. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
Looking for that something special? All of us here at the Sicilian Corner suggest trying Ristorante Uno, located at 119 Salem Street in Boston's historic North End. For the most exquisite dining experience in an intimate setting that serves authentic regional Italian cuisine and features old country service. Try Ristorante Uno. Did we mention their award-winning wine cellar? Ristorante Uno, 119 Salem Street in Boston's historic North End. Call 617-573-9406 for reservations. That's 617-573-9406. Tell them the boys from the Sicilian Corner sent you.
Today, Lawrence General Hospital has affiliations with leading Boston academic medical centers. Top specialists from Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center and Floating Hospital for Children at Tufts Medical Center work with our local doctors to bring world-class care close to home. Today, amazing partnerships are happening at Lawrence General Hospital. To learn more, visit lawrencegeneral.org/today.
Italian artisan cuisine combines simple, fresh ingredients with time-honored preparation to create an incredible culinary experience. At Tuscan Kitchen, located in Salem's historic Depot District, talented chefs prepare everything in-house from scratch for all to see. Guests enjoy their meal literally in our kitchen as food is prepared right in front of you. Wood ovens burn from morning till night, roasting vegetables, baking bread, and firing delightful thin crust pizzas. Prime steaks are seared on a wood grill. A rotisserie slowly roasts marinated whole chickens and lamb, while a pasta maker creates fresh fettuccine. More than just artisan cuisine, Tuscan Kitchen features the wine bar, live entertainment, weekly wine tastings, and elegant private dining and event space. Call 603-952-4875 or visit TuscanKitchen.com to make a reservation and learn more about the culinary adventure that awaits. In Italy, cooking is an art form. Tuscan Kitchen. Experience artisan Italian.
Essex Orthopedics and Optima Sports Medicine is pleased to announce the opening of their American College of Radiology accredited MRI unit at their location at 16 Pelham Road in Salem, New Hampshire. So now, in addition to receiving the best orthopedic care in the Merrimack Valley, as well as physical and occupational therapy at Optima Sports Therapy and Rehab, you can also have your MRI, all in one convenient location. The doctors and staff of Essex Orthopedics and Optima Sports Medicine have been dedicated to providing outstanding medical care to the Merrimack Valley in southern New Hampshire since 1984. Located on Route 97, just off Exit 2 from Route 93 North, on the second floor of the Workout Club of Salem. You deserve the best care, and that's exactly what you'll get from the board-certified surgeons at Essex Orthopedics and Optima Sports Medicine. Please call 603-898-2244 to schedule an appointment.
A loyal sponsor for the Sicilian Corner is Hilton Oil Company. Hilton Oil has been located right across from the South Lawrence Common since 1932 at 101 South Union Street. Hilton Oil Company specializes in 24-hour burner service, oil deliveries, including automatic deliveries, serving all the Merrimack Valley area, plus portions of southern New Hampshire. If you want your car fixed right the first time, bring it to Hilton's state-of-the-art service station. Remember, Hilton's is also a Mass State inspection station. Hilton Oil Company, 101 South Union Street in Lawrence. Call 978-687-9793.
This is Cindy
and Mike Kunstler,
owners of Grazie Italian Restaurant in Drake, Massachusetts,
the hidden gem of the Merrimack Valley.
In addition to spectacular views overlooking our golf course, we have an incredible Italian chef, Benny Curti.
Benny was born and raised in Italy and came to be our executive chef in 2013.
Benny is so passionate about cooking. If you haven't experienced the food at Grazie Italian Restaurant, you're truly in for a treat.
Grazie Italian Restaurant, located at Four Oaks Country Club.
Okay, we are back, and joining Mikey Boy in the studio is our good friend and sponsor, Dan Debricare. Dan, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's a
pleasure. How you doing? You look good.
Yeah, he does. He looks pretty dapper, doesn't he?
Well, it's amazing that the guy looks 40 years younger than you.
Well, you know something? Hey, God bless. That's all I can say. You know. Hey, Dan, once again, as Tom said, welcome to the Sicilian Corner.
Thank you.
This morning I posted on Facebook, and I said to our Sicilian Corner listeners, if you can get a pencil and paper, have it ready. I'm sure you're going to hear a lot of information that are going to be passed down. And I think one of the biggest questions that comes up in everyday conversation, especially like with my friends, it's a question that gets asked often, and it's whether someone should have a will or a trust. How would you answer people that have that bouncing in their head right now? And I'm sure there's a lot of them out there, Tommy being one.
So the first thing I would do is ask a lot of questions and find out a lot about the person's circumstances, like their family makeup and their assets and things like that. In many cases, having a will is sufficient. But the one thing you have to think about with just having a will and not having a trust is that anything that passes on through the will when you pass away has to go through the probate process. And the probate process in Massachusetts takes a year in most cases.
Is it expensive?
And it can be expensive. Yeah, it can be, especially when real estate is involved. It could be several $1,000s.
In my mind, you say probate, I think of people knowing your business. Is that true?
That's definitely true, because one of the things that has to happen when you go through the probate process is you have to file an inventory, which is every article in the estate, and that becomes public record. Everybody knows about your accounts, your real estate, and your property. And then at the end of the probate process, an accounting has to be provided, and that shows who got paid out of the estate and who's going to get what at the end when the judge approves
And that's
the
public?
accounting. And that's all public.
Wow. Do you know that, Tom?
I didn't, but I may I ask a question?
Sure.
Dan. Dan, what irrevocable trust versus a revocable trust? I'm trying to figure out why some people would have an irrevocable trust, because once you set up an irrevocable trust, no changes can be made ever to that trust, correct?
Well, I wouldn't say ever, because a well-drafted irrevocable trust has some safety features to it. A lot of our trusts have what's called a trust protective provision, so that if a change needs to be made to the irrevocable trust based upon a change in circumstances of the beneficiaries, it can still be made. But your question about why would somebody have one?
As opposed to a revocable trust.
Yeah. So usually the reason people use an irrevocable trust is because they're concerned about what's going to happen to everything that they've worked so hard to build up over their lifetime if they have to go into a nursing home, if they need long-term care in a nursing home. And what happens when people do nothing is that they need long-term care and somebody's got to pay for it. So you either use your own assets or you become eligible for Medicaid. Now, Medicaid is a government program that will pay for long-term care, but there are resource limits. So, for example,
What is the cash amount?
Sure. For an unmarried person, the resource limit is $2,000. It's between $2,000 and $2,500. For a married couple, you can have $120,000. Everything over that has to be spent down before you're eligible for Medicaid. And if you own your home and you're unmarried, then your home has to be either spent down, sold and spent down, or they'll put a lien on it.
Is there a time frame, like you have to do this? Like, is it 5 years, 7 years? What? Because, I mean, some people would try and hide assets, and all of a sudden they'd turn around, call up Tommy, and give him the house. But the government, you cannot do that legally, right?
Well, you hear about this 5-year look-back period. When you apply for Medicaid to pay for your long-term care, there's a 5-year look-back period that always apply. And what that means is it's an accounting period. They'll look back 5 years to see what you did during that 5-year period. If you did something during that 5-year period that what they consider to be a penalizing transfer, then you're not eligible for Medicaid. So, it's important that if the strategy you choose is an irrevocable trust, that you do it 5 years before you ever have the need to apply for Medicaid. One of the things that people don't realize, though, is the irrevocable trust, and this goes back to Tom's question about why do people use an irrevocable trust. That's not the only way to keep assets in the family and still become eligible for Medicaid to pay for long-term care services. Under the Medicaid law, there are exemptions and strategies that we use in many cases, not all cases, that will protect the majority or all of people's assets. And it's different for everybody. That's why it's so complicated. There are different exemptions and strategies that might be available to you, Mike, that may be available to Tom. And there are a lot of critical factors we have to look at first to see what exemptions and strategies would be available to a person. And that can only be done with a one-on-one discussion and
in
interview.
the office,
Yeah. So But if that's the case, then you really don't need an irrevocable trust. If you have enough exemptions and strategies available to you at a time of crisis, and when we say time of crisis, we mean when somebody's going into a nursing home. If you have enough exemptions and strategies available, then the only thing you have to be concerned about is whether you can implement them. And the problem that comes up is, like with a married couple, if one spouse has lost their cognitive functions, like a stroke or dementia or something like that, then we can't do anything because they can't sign their name.
You know what I wanted to ask you, Tom? I know you have a question. We'll get to it in a second.
Okay, take your time.
I just want to our listeners to know if they're trying to get more information about the Deborah Care Law offices, how would they go about doing it? I know you have 4 or 5 offices located in New Hampshire, Massachusetts.
We do. And one of the things we do also is we offer educational programs. So this week we did 4 of them. Last night we were at the Doubletree Hotel in Andover.
Oh, sure.
And they go for about 2 hours, and people really like it because
that's how I got to learn about your firm.
That's correct. Yeah.
It was very memorable, wasn't it?
Sure
hey, Dan,
was.
what percentage of revocable versus irrevocable trust? What percentage, of trusts are revocable versus irrevocable?
Well, people come in expecting, unless they've been to one of my seminars, they come in expecting to do an irrevocable trust in many cases. But when we get through the whole interview process and look at what's available to them, about 95% of the people that come in do not do an irrevocable trust because they find out it's unnecessary.
Right.
These online seminars. Oh, I'm sorry, Tommy. I didn't realize.
I just had a follow-up. So correct me if I'm wrong. Both a revocable and irrevocable trust, they really supersede a will, correct? So in other words, if you have either one of those two, you really don't need a will because the will is also, all that stuff is already in there, right?
That's if everything's in there. And one of the problems that happens is people create a trust and they don't put everything into the trust. We call that funding.
Gotcha.
And anything that's not in the trust has to end up going either through the will or still goes through the probate process, but then the state law decides who gets your assets.
We are chatting with Dan Debricare from Debricare Law Offices. There's a lot of people watching right now. If you have questions, we will answer them, or Dan will answer them. I certainly won't, but Dan will. Mikey, just one other question. Dan, this is a touchy subject amongst a lot of people that I've spoken to in the past, but is this common where if you set up a trust, whether it be revocable or irrevocable, a lot of folks leave the spouses of their children out of the equation, simply because, if it's your daughter and your son-in-law, if they get divorced, you don't want him to get anything from your estate. Is that pretty common?
It's typical. It's typical that people will set up the chain of distribution down the bloodline.
Yep.
And if there's a child that's happily married and they receive a third of the estate, then the spouse is going to enjoy in that anyway. But people are concerned about what happens when a child gets divorced. The divorce rate is 62% right now. So people are concerned that they don't want to lose what they've built up to a former spouse of a child.
I notice you're doing some online seminars now from your office. How's that working out for you? I find it very useful information.
Sure.
And you care to talk about that? Is this something that's going to continue, even though we're not in a COVID situation?
So to get back to the question you asked, how does somebody find out? We do the public seminars. Those happen throughout the year. But if you go on our website or you call our office, we also have live webinars, which is the same thing. It's an educational event for the public. and then we actually take questions and answers at the live webinar.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, and if that doesn't work for you, for your schedule or whatever, we also have an on-demand webinar where you can call us and we'll email you a link, and you can watch the webinar at your own schedule.
So, Dan, for someone who's listening to us this morning, and all of a sudden something's going off in their head and saying, you know something, I've been postponing making plans for my future or my family's future. How would they go about reaching out to you? What do they need to do? What's the process?
Well, I would strongly recommend that they at least watch the on-demand webinar, because there are two benefits. That when they come in to meet with us, they'll have some understanding of the issues. But secondly, if you watch the on-demand webinar, we waive our consultation fee.
Okay.
So the consultation fee is $450. If you watch the 90-minute on-demand webinar, we waive that.
Okay. Why don't you tell the folks whereabouts your offices are located?
Sure. We have an office in North Andover, right on Sutton Street. We're also in Londonderry, New Hampshire, right at Exit 5. Nashua, New Hampshire, right off the Everett Turnpike, Exit 4. And then in Woburn, and then one in Beverly at the Cummings Center in Beverly.
So in your spare time, Dan, what do you do?
Actually, woodworking is my hobby.
Is it really?
It is, yeah.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
We're chatting with Dan Debriquet. Dan, you're going to stick around with us for the rest of the show, I hope, right? Because I know we have some questions. I have more questions that I want to ask. Why don't we do this, Mike? Why don't we take? What time is it? I tell you, my glasses. I think I need new glasses.
Don't be so cheap. I mean, you know, you put everything inside that shoebox, nothing comes out.
Can I tell you about these glasses real quickly? I bought these online.
Dan? Do you honestly care about his freaking glasses?
No, but hold on, Dan.
I don't care. Chrissy doesn't care.
But he wears glasses.
David doesn't. Oh, David does care.
Listen, real quick.
Brown nose.
I bought these from a company in Belgium that makes them. It's called Lenskart.
$1.99.
No, listen, better. You order the glasses. They got thousands of pairs. You order them, and they have an image of your face, and you can try on glasses.
Really?
You press a button. I bought 3 pair. I've had these for over a year and a half. These are they're all prescription, $38 a pair. How do they make money? $38, and they're beautiful.
Child labor.
Plus, I mean, all kidding aside, though, I am a pretty handsome guy.
Yeah, will you please? Come on, knock it off. David, why don't you take us to break now? Take us to break. I'm tired of listening to him.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, I have some questions regarding real estate with the trust.
All right, Gandhi. Let's go.
All right, we'll be right back.
This is David from the Sicilian Corner. You know, Mike, Tom, and I love to go to Salisbury Beach, but we love different things and we can never agree. Tom likes the casual family-style dining with great Italian cuisine, Capri Seaside Italian Grill. Me, I love the elegant romantic vibe, Sea Glass with the amazing view and terrific menu with prices that'll make it the place you want to visit every week. Mike loves a drink in his hand and a cool ocean breeze right off the surf and the rhythms of an even cooler reggae band. We all know Mike loves Bob Marley tunes at Surfside. Who doesn't love a great show? National acts, comedy, regional favorites, and the beautiful and intimate Blue Ocean Music Hall. Lucky for us, Atlantic Hospitality is the host of all these great places, and they treat everyone like they're Mike Lamazzo. And best of all, we never have to choose. Park the car once and all of this fun is right at your fingertips. We can have it all in the heart of Salisbury Beach. Find out about all the ways you can have a great night at Salisbury Beach at northshorepavilion.com. And Mike, Tom, and I will see you there.
This is Tom Zappala. Located in the heart of downtown Haverhill, the Haverhill Beef Company is a full-service, old-fashioned butcher shop and meat market that continues to be a valued family tradition since 1952. Peter and Monica Carboni's Haverhill Beef offers individualized service from an outstanding selection of marinated sirloin tips, homemade sausage, marinated chicken, and thick, juicy Chairman Reserve steaks. Your family deserves the best, so call Peter at 978-374-4795 or visit their website at www.haverhillbeef.com.
Hi, this is Mike, and I would like to tell you about the Debriquet Law Offices, a firm that is focused on estate planning, probate, trust administration, and elder law issues issues. You will feel comfortable discussing important issues concerning both you and your loved ones, as well as having the information you need to make an informed decision about your family's future. How do I know? Because I'm a client of Dan Deborah Care. If you want to have peace of mind knowing that your loved ones are protected, call Deborah Care Law Offices today. In Massachusetts, 978-686-4645. In New Hampshire, 603-894-4141.
At Catadella Funeral Home, we reinvest in our business to provide your family with the best facilities. It begins with a beautifully landscaped exterior, parking for 250 vehicles, and a comfortable and inviting access to our renovated interior. Funerals can be costly, so you should review and compare plans to make sure you receive services that are fairly priced. I invite you to experience the Catadella difference in cost, facility, and service.
Catadella's honoring and celebrating the lives of the people we loved, providing exceptional care since 1929.
This is Cindy,
And Mike Kunstler,
owners of Grazie Italian Restaurant in Dracut, Massachusetts.
the hidden gem of the Merrimack Valley.
In addition to spectacular views overlooking our golf course, we have an incredible Italian chef, Vinnie Curti.
Benny was born and raised in Italy and came to be our executive chef in 2013.
Vinnie is so passionate about cooking. If you haven't experienced the food at Grazie Italian Restaurant, you're truly in for a treat.
Grazie Italian Restaurant, located at Four Oaks Country Club.
Okay, we are back with Dan Deborah. Hey, Dan, question regarding executors of estates. So I guess the first question is, how important is it to have an executor? Is it okay to have one of your kids as the executor of your estate? And more importantly, how does that all tie in with the trust? I mean, does anybody, if you have a trust, whether it be revocable, irrevocable, should everybody have an executor of your estate?
Sure. So when you talk about the executor of the estate, what you're saying is that you've appointed somebody to take over for you and handle your business when you no longer can handle it for yourself. If the estate is a probate estate and you just have a will, they now call it the personal representative instead of the executor. And the reason for that is you'd have to delineate the difference between a boy and a girl because the executor is a male and the executrix would be the female. So we need
all right,
to
so I'll
have
stop right there
gender
for a
neutral.
second. So let's talk about a will. There's going to be a reading of a will. The will, is the will read by the attorney who's holding the will, or is it read by the executor, or does the attorney read it to the executor and the executor disseminates all that information out to other family members? How does that all work?
There really is no official will reading ceremony like you see on TV.
That's why I was asking the question.
Because
Perry
usually
Mason all
what
the time.
happens, usually what happens is the person who writes a will will either give a copy or leave a copy where the personal representative will find it, and then they'll either go to the attorney who prepared it or another attorney, and they'll sit down and go over what the responsibilities and the fiduciary duties of the executor is. But if you have a trust, then you're going to have a successor trustee. So typically, when you have a trust, you're the trustee during your lifetime. Now, the trustee is the person who has the legal authority to manage trust assets. That means the trustee can sell things, open accounts, buy things, and then they name a successor trustee so that if either they become incapacitated, lose their cognitive abilities, they've already got somebody named who's going to take over and manage that trust. Or if they pass away, then the successor trustee manages the trust.
Now, shouldn't that person have, for instance, check writing capabilities? You know, all of that minutia.
So, yeah, you know, a trust is a contract. And when we draft a trust, we draft all of the powers of the trustee, what the trustee can do, and then we have beneficiaries who have the right to receive assets.
Okay. That's good. We do have a question on Facebook. David, what is that question?
So our listener was asking, for someone that has a will, should they also have a trust? And which trust? Obviously, I think it's a sit-down.
Say the question again, please.
For someone that already has a will,
Yeah.
Should they also have a trust? A lot of people think they have the will, they have everything covered. What is the difference? What would be beneficial to having any kind of a trust?
A lot of people think when you have a will that your family doesn't have to go through the probate court process. But when you have a will and you don't have a trust, then your family's going to have to go through the probate process, which means that everything's going to get tied up for a year and you're going to spend thousands of dollars on the probate process. If you have a trust and the assets are actually in the trust, then you can eliminate probate. Now, the question was asked earlier, if I have a trust, do I need a will? Well, when you have a trust, we also still prepare a will. It's called a pour-over will. It's like a safety net. It's there in case there are some assets that were not funded into the trust. Then those assets are going to have to go through probate, but we call it a pour-over will because it pours over into the trust. Doesn't eliminate probate, but it still causes the terms of the trust to take effect.
Okay. Yep.
We have another question from our good friend Kathy Beauchar Reynolds. What is the cost range for estate planning? From what to what? And I know it depends on what your assets are, the real estate you own, but average cost for an average person.
My favorite lawyer answer, it depends. But I can say that for a non-business situation where we're not talking about advanced tax planning techniques and things like that, a range would be anywhere from $1,500 to $7,000.
Okay.
Depends on what kind of protections we're putting into place.
Right.
Depends on
a
lot of things.
Today, prices of homes represents probably 3/4 to 80% of the total value of the assets that a person has. What steps can be taken, Dan, to protect your home's value against nursing home cost?
Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to sit down with a qualified elder law professional so that they can assess what Medicaid exemptions and strategies would be available to you. That's the only way you're going to be able to determine whether you want to put that home into an irrevocable trust or a revocable trust. A little earlier, I talked about what happens when somebody loses their cognitive abilities and you can't implement those exemptions.
You're talking about everyday decisions? Is that what you're...
Well, yeah, I mean somebody who can't make a legal decision. Somebody who's been determined that they can't manage their own affairs. But the point I wanted to make is that when somebody loses their cognitive abilities and the other spouse can't implement those strategies, can be alleviated if the assets are already in a trust. So that's, one of the reasons, the benefits of the revocable trust is to allow a spouse or a child to implement these protections at the time of crisis. So when people ask, well, if I have a will, why do I need a trust? The answer is, do you want to avoid probate? And do you want your family to be able to implement strategies in crisis to avoid losing everything to the nursing home costs?
The addition cost associated with doing a trust compared to just a will, the cost of doing probate and going through probate is expensive.
It is.
So, I mean, would it be a balance whether deciding if it's strictly a monetary decision, do I go with the will or do I go with the trust? Because in the long run, it's probably going to come out pretty close to equal, won't it?
No, usually the trust is less expensive than going through the probate process.
It is, huh? Yeah. Wow. Did you know that, T?
I did not. That's a very interesting point.
And again,
Dan,
I just want to
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just want to clear that up though, because there are some probate situations that are simple probate situations that are not as expensive. So that's why we like to sit down with you and talk, and look at your assets and say, well, in your case, the trust is not going to be cost effective if you have a very simple situation. So it's really important to sit down with a qualified attorney or elder law professional.
I just want to say to our listeners, Tommy, and I should have said this right at the beginning, I am a client of the Deborah Care Law Office. So I just want to make that public record.
Well, and that's a good point, Mikey. I'm not, as Dan knows. I mean, Ellen and I had our trust set up a long time ago.
Right, which is a good move.
Yeah, we did it. We have some real estate. Dan, is it common practice for some people to skip a generation with trust? Sometimes people will feel that their children are already doing okay, and they want everything to
Skip
go
to their grandchildren.
Sure.
Well, we have a second. You heard me talk about the Butcher Boy, and I know you have an office on Sutton Street in North Andover. So you're only about a mile away.
Right around the corner.
Right around the corner. I just want to say to our listeners that, you know something, talk about variety. It's unbelievable.
You cannot get a better steak than their.
Well,
their
listen
club
to
steak.
you.
No, really,
listen
I'm
to
telling
you go.
We go. I go there and I buy 5 of each at a time. The club steaks and the fillets, and we freeze them. They wrap them separately for freezing. And
Can't beat
you
it.
can't get a better steak.
Nah,
You really can't.
You know something? I'm very good friends with the Amin family. Tommy Amin was my best man at my wedding. They run a real, and the second generation, that's what I was talking about. 57 years later, they're continuing in the tradition.
Not to mention it might get free steaks, I'm sure.
No. Don't even start a rumor like that. Don't even start a rumor like that.
It's free steaks, free tips, free lamb chops. Come on, who are you kidding?
Dan, let's get back to death taxes.
Okay.
Some people think that they can go out with their credit card, charge everything on their credit card. They know they're terminally ill, and when they die, nothing has to be paid. That's not so, right?
Well, no. If you have an estate, then your estate is going to end up paying the debts.
That's where the executor comes in. They have to pay.
Correct. Sure.
See, Tommy, I keep trying to tell you that. Don't keep charging. Don't keep charging. So,
hey, actually, I don't charge. I mean, when I charge, right, our credit card bills are paid off every month.
You know something, and that's the way it should be.
I mean, if you don't, you're silly.
You know something? Really if I was to try and charge somebody and they took a loan, you said to me, I need to borrow some money, and I charge you 25%, they'd put me in jail.
Absolutely.
These
I totally agree
cards,
with you, Mike.
24, 25, 26%. It's a joke. You'll never pay off the principal.
Sure. Hey, Dan, you're a finance guy. Let's change direction for a brief minute. The situation in the Ukraine, what the world is doing to Russia is really impacting them beyond economically. It's really having an impact. In your opinion, is this going to affect the entire world economy with with the restrictions that we put on the Russians? Boy, I wasn't ready for that one. So
I can hear your mind moving here.
In my opinion, yes, because we're the biggest thing is we're driving up the price of petroleum, and when that happens, the cost of everything goes up. It goes up. When you have inflation, then the economy changes. So
Dan, let's assume that I have a child that's disabled, has problems, cannot function on her or his being alone. What can you do as far as setting up a trust that will guarantee that my son or daughter is going to be protected and have whatever assets I'm filtering down to her? How do you go about doing that?
Well, it's a very good question, because you could have children with various issues. You could have a spendthrift child, or a child that has
And that happens.
drug and alcohol problems, or a child that's in a rocky marriage. And one of the things that a good trust will do is provide a subtrust for each one of those beneficiaries with special protections. So for the special needs child who's relying on benefits for perhaps medical or housing, we would have a special needs subtrust, and that would not interfere with their eligibility for benefits, and there would be somebody.
You're referring to Medicaid there?
I'm referring to either Medicaid or
Because if they have
Section 8
if
or
they
any
have a
of those
certain
things.
amount of money or assets, they wouldn't be eligible for the Medicaid benefits, correct?
Correct. Yeah, or any benefits. Most benefits are resource based. So we would have a trust that's specifically designed not to interfere with eligibility for those benefits.
You know, you brought out something interesting that hit a nerve with me. If you happen to have a son or a daughter who's a spendthrift, can you set your trust up where instead of giving them half your assets, say $200,000 they're going to get in a lump sum, can you give them like $35,000 a year? You set that up in the trust?
We do that frequently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's a good thing. This way here, you know they're not going to rip through it in a matter of 6 months and go out and buy a new car or whatever the case might be.
Absolutely.
No, that's a good question. Tommy, you
Hey,
have...
Dan, go ahead. I'm sorry. We've got about 5 minutes left. Again, why don't you walk us through the webinars that you folks offer, your website, all of that good stuff.
Sure. So our website is www.dadlawoffices.com. And it wasn't because I named it after my dad, and my initials are DAD, so a lot of people think it's because of my dad. But it's www.dadlawoffices.com, or you can call us at 603-894-4141.
Why don't you give that number again, Dan?
603-894-4141. And we'd be glad to get back to you and talk to you about whether the on-demand webinar would be right for you or just coming into the office for a meeting. Usually we encourage you to watch the webinar so that you don't have to pay for the consultation.
Tommy, I just want to add to what he's saying. At the seminars that you go to, like the one they're going to have at the DoubleTree, or did you have it already?
We had it last night.
You had it last night. When Dan speaks or a representative of the company talks, they talk in a way that you can understand it. They don't talk over you. The terminology is down to earth. So you can really grasp what, even Chrissy would be able to get it in no time. But, right, Chris?
Yeah, I'm smart.
There you go. But anyway, that's important to me because sometimes you get overwhelmed with the terminology, phrases, and
we try to make it fun too. We use the story of an American couple called Bill and Mary Jones, and Bill and Mary have
that
two
hasn't
kids.
changed.
Yeah, no, we still use Bill and Mary. It's been updated. The pictures have been updated a little bit, but the story's still the same. It works well because it helps people to understand the reason why you would want to do certain things.
Tommy,
you have we got about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
What do you got going for the weekend, Mike?
Tommy, I'm going to try and learn the crazy electronics in this car because I am I'm so lost. It's unbelievable. I know how to start it. I know how to stop it. That there's so many things. It's like crazy. It's insane. So I'm taking out my book, and tomorrow morning I'm going to sit there and I'm going to learn every little gizmo that's on there. But I'm having fun with it. And I believe tomorrow my neighbor's coming over to pick up my car that I sold to him. And, you know something? That's it. I'm going to relax. I might make a nice pot roast Sunday.
Nice.
You like pot roast?
Love pot roast.
From the Butcher Boy, right?
Yeah,
There
absolutely.
you go.
My wife makes a great pot roast.
You know the key to that? I'm going to tell you. You want a secret? Put 2 tablespoons of vinegar in a Dutch oven in that pot roast.
Really?
Let me tell you, you're going to call me and say thank you.
All right.
I guarantee it.
All right, we're just about out of time. Dan, wishing you the best. Thanks for the information. By the way,
thanks for
our
coming
viewers
in.
and listeners, you can always go to Mike too. All kidding aside, because I know Mike, Father Mikey, talks to a lot of you folks. If you want information on Dan, you can go to Mike too, and Mike will give you all the information you need.
Well, funny as you say that, because we probably have 10 or 11, 12 people that have come to you. And and
Good.
Everybody's happy. Everybody's happy and peace of mind. Peace of mind is the key. That's what you're trying to sell. Peace of mind.
All right, Mikey boy, have a great week. Dan,
Thank you.
have a great week. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, listen to us on iHeartRadio, tune in Radio 980 WCAP. Facebook, we're all over the place. Alexa, you can ask Alexa. You can do whatever you want. With that being said, remember, if you can't make fun of yourself, please don't make fun of anyone.
Absolutely. Buona fortuna, everybody. Have a nice weekend. Dan, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me.
Have a great week.
Okay.
Audio
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.